to Simply Technical. I'm your host, Evan Lockhart, and a co-host of Keaton Minor. And then we got local expert Matt Peacock.
What's up?
You might have recognized him from other podcasts. So we're going to talk about the draft and the Thunder and a couple of trades that have happened recently. So this is all going to be about basketball, which all three of us enjoy. So, Anthony Davis trade. That happened a couple of days ago. What all was traded? So, it was Anthony Davis to the Lakers, and they got several picks, quite a few picks back, correct?
Yeah, so they got a 2021 top 8 protected pick, which if it lands in the top 8, that pick becomes unprotected in 2022. First-round rights to a pick in 2023 and a 2024 first-round pick, which the New Orleans Pelicans have the option to defer it to 2025 instead.
Wow,
so it kind of
that's
like
wild.
a pick swap. It kind of depends what the outlook of the teams are at that point.
And maybe even what kind of players are going to be in the draft at that time.
Yeah, definitely.
And then recently, since the draft is happening as we speak, we're on the tail end of the first round, but the Pelicans also traded. They got the 4th pick, correct, from the Lakers,
Yes.
and they traded that to Atlanta for a couple picks this year, or
This year for, was it the 8th and the 10th pick?
they got 3 picks in return, I believe.
8th, 10th, 17th?
It was the 8th, 17th, and a pick
8th,
for next
17th.
year.
Okay.
Because the Hawks they drafted Cam Reddish at 10.
That's
Okay.
right.
So the Pelicans really turned Anthony Davis into quite a team. I mean, several players, because they got Lonzo Ball, and with that they got his father.
Poor guys. Hide your wife.
And then they got Brandon Ingram and Josh Hart. They got 3 players and then 3 picks.
Yeah.
And then they traded one of those picks back for Atlanta, 2 picks, and then a future pick. So they really maximized, David Griffin, the GM of the Pelicans, really maximized Anthony Davis's trade value. I mean, that's the most return we've ever seen for a superstar trade. I mean, Paul George, you got 2 players. What's another? Kawhi Leonard, you got an all-star back, DeMar.
Yeah, there's a couple all-star swaps I can think of, but I mean...
Yeah,
That's-
nothing like this. I mean, the Celtics screwing over the Nets.
Yeah,
even
with-
though in the end they didn't really get much out of it, but that's the closest thing I can think of.
Yeah, so that was really one-sided. I mean, props to David Griffin for maximizing. That's in my eyes, a Sam Presti-esque move. So he really he maximized that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they also did pretty good with their picks. So they really went for fit with the 8th overall pick. Obviously they picked Zion number 1, but they picked Jackson Hayes. He's a center out of Texas. And what's interesting about him is he didn't start playing basketball until he was, I think, like a junior in high school is what I read.
Shoot.
And, guy's long, lengthy. I think he's over 7-foot center. So to pair him alongside Zion, it's going to be one freakishly athletic backcourt. Or front court. Whatever.
Front court.
Sorry, it's a long day.
Obviously, the Lakers got what they wanted, but I think, obviously they got to win a championship in the next couple of years. LeBron James is on the decline, but I think this is just from a purely business perspective. This is a terrible trade. Like, you are basically saying that you have to win. You're gonna win now, and the future doesn't matter whatsoever. And they've pretty much doomed themselves to being saved by free agents in the future. And who know? Just because you have a big market doesn't mean free agents are going to come. Just look at the Knicks right now.
Well, it's ironic. That's kind of what got the Lakers in this situation in the first place.
Yeah.
Because, when into the Kobe years, they kept trying to say, oh, let's maximize all we have with Kobe. So they kept trading all these guys. Next thing you know, you throw out a starting lineup with Jordan Clarkson and Larry Nance Jr.
Yikes.
Yeah.
They just got lucky they recovered from that, just with some trades they worked out. But, 4 or 5 years from now, there's a good chance they may be back in the same boat that they're in now, or at least a couple years ago they were at least.
And even worse, I mean, they could be even worse than they are now. I mean, they barely missed in the playoffs. And, I mean, obviously, if, injuries don't affect them, they should definitely make the playoffs. And if they don't win the championship, I think they're going to have a complete overhaul within the next couple of years of their entire management. Because, I mean, something's wrong if they don't win a championship. They're betting it all on. I also saw a tweet today that said they didn't realize that they couldn't get a max player. They had an accounting error where they couldn't get a max player
unless they delayed.
Unless they delayed the trade, but they didn't realize that because of this accounting error. So they kind of shot themselves in the foot. Sounds very much like post-Kobe Lakers management.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to mention that Anthony Davis has a trade clause in his contract. So there's a $4 million kind of like cap hit on it. And so if Anthony Davis turns options to turn down that $4 million, then they can maybe sign a max contract. I haven't looked at the financials specifically, but if he says, that's $4 million, I'm going to take that, then that's just less people they can sign.
Yeah. And I mean, outside of LeBron and Anthony Davis, what do they have? Like a G League? I guess they have Kuzma, but outside of them,
they have Lance Stevenson.
Well, even then, I think it was a 1-year deal, wasn't it?
I'm not for sure on that, but
I think pretty much everybody they signed last offseason was 1-year rentals.
I know that they have five players signed after the trade.
God.
So they have 10 roster spots to fill.
I'll go play for him. I'm coming off an ACL surgery.
I'll take a minimum.
They're probably going to
I'll take the minimum.
Yeah, for sure.
So another trade happened recently, even more recent than that trade, was the Mike Conley trade. So the Memphis Grizzlies sent Mike Conley for what picks did they get back and who'd they get back in return?
So they traded Mike Conley to the Jazz for Grayson Allen, Kyle Korver, and Jay Crowder, and then they also have a future first-round pick.
Which that actually turned into the Thunder's pick. That just happened. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So as of now, it just turned into the Thunder's pick. Yeah. They traded back. The Thunder traded back from 21 to 23.
Yeah.
Kind of swapping picks and then getting a first-round pick, or not a first-round, a second-round pick in the future.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, this was making room for John Morant, and pretty much
that's who they drafted. So
kicking Mike Conley aside. I do think the Jazz got better with this, but I think we have some disagreements on this. I don't think they became a title contender whatsoever. I think when you have Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley, that's going to be your backcourt now, which is improved, but it's not worlds better than Donovan Mitchell and Ricky Rubio.
So you're saying that you think Ricky Rubio and Mike Conley are on par with each other?
I don't think they're on par with each other. I don't think it's a massive upgrade. I think it's an upgrade, but I don't think you went to another tier of basketball players.
So I don't know the exact stats, but I know Conley has averaged around 23 points, 3 to 4 rebounds, and 6 assists for his career. And I know Rubio was in the 10-point range for points. So, I mean, points-wise, you're an upgrade. They didn't really give up anything. I mean, they gave up Kyle Korver, who didn't play. He played in maybe situational. Grayson Allen, who didn't play for them. I'm sure their G League will miss him. And then they gave up, who was the third player? Grayson Allen.
Jay Crowder.
Jay Crowder did play for them. He did start for them.
Yeah.
That'll hurt defensively for him.
But I know that they were trying to get a stretch 4 as of recently, which would just complete their team. I mean, I don't think they want Derek Favors back at the starting 4 position for them, or even a backup. So Matt's looking up the stats right now on Mike Conley versus Ricky Rubio.
Yeah, so according to these stats, Ricky Rubio is a little bit better rebounder.
But slightly.
Yeah, and Mike Conley slightly has the edge on assist. They're exactly the same on steals, blocks, but it doesn't matter for point guards. The big kicker comes in the points. Mike Conley averages 21.1 points per game, and Ricky Rubio is at 12.7. But then going a little further down, Mike Conley is about a 5% better 3-point shooter. He shoots 36% versus Ricky Rubio's 31%. So
to get a little bit better floor spacing on
Floor
that.
spacing, yeah.
So it is an upgrade, but it's. I probably got a little ahead of myself with how big of an upgrade it is. But anytime you can add a guy that can, consistently score 21 points per game, it's a pretty solid upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Conley's definitely a great player, and he's better than Ricky Rubio. But I don't know. I mean, as a Thunder fan, I know they beat us already, so they got better. It's going to be harder for us to beat them down the road, but I don't think they're competing with the Lakers and
Houston and
I would
Thunder.
have said Houston, but Houston seems to have just completely crumbled in the last 2 weeks.
We can talk about that next. But what do you think about how does it work out for the Grizzlies?
I mean, it was to make the way for the future. I think it was. I don't think it. Mike Conley obviously isn't getting them over the hump to make the playoffs, and I think this is their rebuilding time.
Okay, so what do you think about them adding Grayson Allen? Do you think that's a plus, or I mean, he's just young. He's just a young guy.
He's just
a throw-in.
Yeah,
Just a throw-in? Okay.
He's just a better Kyle Singler out there that's whinier.
I see them.
Yeah.
I
Two
see him.
guys.
I see him buying out Kyle Korver. I see them buying him out so that he can play with a contender.
Yeah.
Jay Crowder's not really going to add anything to them. He's kind of just a player. Grayson Allen, I think he'll add to their young core, but will he add all that much? I'm not really sure.
I think that next year they're going to be another lottery team, but that's okay. I think that's what they want.
Well, I mean, so for their starting five, I don't know who their shooting guard or small forward is, but they'll have John Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Jonas Valanciunas. So I'm guessing Dylan, what's his name? Dylan Brooks.
Yeah, they got Dylan Brooks. I don't know if the guys are still on the roster or not. Joakim Noah's on there. Chandler Parsons still on right.
So I'm guessing their starting shooting guard will probably be Dylan Brooks.
They've got Avery Bradley.
I didn't realize they had Avery Bradley on their team.
Either.
Maybe one of those guys will be at small forward. So they got a decent. Besides Avery Bradley, I mean, he's good, but he's not going to be.
He's kind of fallen off a little bit.
He's fallen off, but yeah, I mean, he's also not going to contribute for the long haul. But I think they got a nice young roster. Obviously, it's not going to be as promising as the Pelicans, but they still have. I think they have good pieces to move forward.
Yeah, I think this trade out of anything was more just kind of out of respect to Mike Conley and all the years he's put in there to make them. For a while, they're one of the best teams in the NBA, that grit and grind era. I think that was more of a, hey, you've got a couple years left in your prime, go win the ship. Or go compete for a championship at least.
I think they're going to be top 4 in the West.
Yeah.
I think they definitely have a shot. But
on topic with that, I'll save us for hot takes later. I've got a ice. Like a blue dragon fire ice hot take.
All right, well, stay tuned. So you mentioned the Rockets earlier.
Yeah.
So there's reports coming out that Chris Paul and James Harden hate each other.
Yeah,
but there's also reports that they love each other. So I don't really know what to take of it.
Well, Chris Paul insulted James Harden's man boobs, and then he was crying.
He had to leave practice, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, Barry. Sports Talk with Barry.
He probably went straight to the strip club knowing James Harden.
Yeah, for real.
Thanks, Sports Talk with Barry, for that hot take, and for who was it? Skip Bayless that bid on it and talked about it on national TV. But in reality, I mean, I think that they're not getting along as much as they say. I mean, there has been some takes that they hate each other. I don't think they hate each other, but I don't think they're particularly like each other.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, they should have been in the championship 2 years ago, and I think
Chris Paul got hurt.
Yeah, I think that just destroyed the lock. Like, how do you come back from that at that point? And then your season's just a bummer compared to the season before, and
Chris
I
Paul's
think the team just fell apart. Yeah,
and Chris Paul's taking a decent step back.
he's getting old. I mean, he's old. I don't even. How old is he?
34.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Because he's about the same age as LeBron.
I think he's a year older.
34.
Actually. Yeah, he's 34.
34. He's just declining, but he's supposed to be one of the highest paid players in the NBA.
Terrible contract.
It's an untradeable contract.
Yeah,
That's what everybody's been saying. I mean, I don't know the NBA contract stuff and salary cap. I don't really understand, but he's supposed to get like $40 million, and they've been looking. Apparently, there's been reports that they called the Knicks to trade him to them, and they hung up the phone.
Nah, fam.
They said we're real busy. So, I mean, for a guy like Chris Paul, has had a tremendous career of losing in the first round. I mean, he's a fantastic point guard, but he hasn't really done anything championship-wise. But he's been a fantastic player. I mean, Hall of Famer, would you say?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
I
So,
think so.
it's kind of sad to see it come to this, but, maybe if he didn't have a contract for $40 million, he might be retiring pretty soon.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure that thought's crossed
he'll
his...
be great trade bait in the last year of his contract when a team wants a salary dump to sign a high-powered free agent. But what does he have? Still 2 more years? There's
I think 3. I think last year was
2
his
more
first
years.
year.
Oh my,
Because he signed a 5-year deal.
that's Houston. Oh,
I mean, at the time, they were being praised for not a great signing, because they did a sign and trade, where they gave up Lou Williams. Who else?
Montrezl Harrell was in there.
Yeah,
too.
Montrezl Harrell,
And Patrick Beverly.
Patrick Beverly. They gave up 3 okay pieces. Montrezl Harrell, that could have been something great. He's turned into pretty
beast.
good. But at the time, it was a decent trade, or at least signing. I mean, since it was a sign and trade, a good trade. I mean, like, they're going to compete, and they did compete, but it hasn't worked.
Hamstring away from a championship.
Or competing. I mean, playing against who are they going to play against? The Cavs.
I mean,
Yeah.
it took Chris Paul hurting his hamstring and the worst 3-point shooting in
NBA
the history of basketball
27 missed threes, was that?
in a row.
In a row.
Not 27 in a row. And
Yikes.
would they lose by like 7 or something? I mean, it was a close-ish game. Like, it wasn't a blowout.
It's the story of the Warriors dynasty.
Yeah,
Just
lucky.
injuries, Kawhi getting hurt.
Chris
Right.
Paul getting hurt.
Chris Paul getting hurt. They played in one series against the Trailblazers first round. They were without McCollum and Damian Lillard for most of it. I mean, they just got lucky.
They got lucky, and then
they were good. But
And then
And
it
then the
all
karma
came
caught up to
crashing
them.
down.
Karma caught up to them. They got injured themselves.
Speaking of, I saw a tweet today about Kevin Durant maybe suggesting a sign and trade.
what a
But
prick.
as in, the way that I understood it was they would sign him and then hope to trade him. It wasn't like, hey, you have a team that you want to go to. It wasn't like the Chris Paul trade where Chris Paul said, I'm going to sign with Houston, but I want a 5-year deal, and Clippers, I want you to get something back in return, kind of like as a gesture to them. But this seems like, hey, sign with us, Kevin Durant, sign with us, and then once you get healed, we'll trade you as like a respect to him. But I don't know if I necessarily trust the Warriors organization. I mean, obviously Durant could just sit out, but
Durant can go wherever needs to go, play for the Knicks or sit out for the Knicks this year, and not.
he
I
doesn't. He
think it
doesn't
would
need
be
trade.
horrible for his image if he did a sign and trade. Like,
Speaking of reports, there was a report of the Nets not wanting Kyrie if he didn't bring KD. What do y'all think of that?
Smart,
Yeah.
smart.
Kyrie's a great player. I think he's a poison for a team.
Yeah, those two combined as leaders would be the weakest leadership in the entire NBA.
For real.
I feel bad for D'Angelo Russell in that situation.
Yeah, they just kind of.
They said, hey, we traded for you. They traded for him. He has a ball-out year, contract year.
Yeah, they give him the keys and then
And they give him the keys to the. I mean, he had a ton of ISO plays. It wasn't like James Harden, but he was more isolated plays like James. But he just didn't. It seems like, hey, we'll shove you to the side and get Kyrie and KD if we can. But if not, we'd love to have you back.
Yeah.
It's like, third option kind of. That would be, to me, I would be disrespected. Especially the way that he played this last year.
Yeah, I mean, that team definitely had a lot of chemistry. They were young. They put up a fight in the playoffs. I get wanting to go after those big superstars and whatnot, but if I'm the Nets front office, I'm worried to death about signing KD coming off an Achilles injury. I mean, we've seen how it's derailed many other, careers in the past, and Kyrie isn't the leader he thinks he is.
First of all, the problem is he thinks the Earth is flat, so that's his first problem.
He needs to keep running until he falls off.
Maybe he'll wake up then. But I don't think he... I hate to quote Skip Bayless. I think it was Skip. But he said Kyrie is more of a Robin than a Batman. And I totally agree with that.
Yep.
Even though it came from Skip
He thought
Bayless.
he could be a Batman, and then obviously he couldn't. And he called LeBron pretty much crying this year is what they said. about how it's hard to lead a team, be the first option, and he's sorry. It's karma.
Here's a semi-relevant trade for the Thunder. The Celtics traded Aaron Baines to the Suns.
Oh, dang it.
I know there's been a lot of rumors about the Thunder trying to shed some salary to get underneath the cap. And there's a thing called the apron. If they can get underneath the apron, which is just a few million above the salary cap, they can participate in some sign-in trades. And so with a team like Boston, it's seemingly they're going to lose out on Al Horford. Now they lost Aaron Baines. Don't be surprised if you see the Thunder potentially to shed some salary, trade Steven Adams that way.
For
shedding salary.
I
mean, they wouldn't really get anything in return.
Maybe like a Terry Rozier if they threw in Schroeder in there.
I don't know. I think we're still in win now mode. Well, I know we want to lose some salary, but I don't think we just throw our team apart for
who knows? They may trade Steven Adams for Kevin Love.
So somebody tweeted out that Steven Adams was traded for Kevin Love from the Cavs, and Matt told us, and it was a yikes. It was a
fake.
It was a Barry sports talk with Barry kind of tweet, and he duped us all on podcast, on our OU podcast. So, shout out to Matt.
It happens.
So let's go into the draft. We don't have to go pick by pick, but let's just go into that.
So we'll kind of highlight some picks that were pretty interesting. The whole world knew the first three picks. Zion. Let's talk about that.
Zion went to the Pelicans. Go ahead.
Yeah, Pelicans.
Okay, yeah.
Do y'all think he's going to have a good NBA career?
Yes, I do. I think he has the athleticism, and I think he has the temperament to work hard, and he seems to have his head on his shoulders, and I think that's very important, especially for these number one picks that come in all hype, and obviously I think there's a gap between the guys who work hard and the guys who come in and get their first, $1 million check and then just coast for the rest of their career, and I think he's one of the guys that seems to be someone that wants to be the best.
What do you think, Evan?
So I was not a hater, but I had my doubts about him in college. Coming from, was it a private school, a really small school, high school? And, I mean, obviously you saw his dunks, and they were just phenomenal. They were fantastic.
On the little white guys.
On guys that, it was me. It was us. It was basically us three versus Zion, and he's going down court dunking, and you're in awe. And I was like, well, his competition was just horrible. No offense to those guys. They were horrible compared to him. And I was like, well, he's going to go to college and he's going to get punched in the mouth. It's like welcome to the NBA rookie, like that kind of thing. Like people are going to try and show him up, but I mean, he put the doubters, he made me feel like an idiot because he did pretty well. I mean, he did fantastic. So he ripped through a shoe. No shoes can contain him. So Matt, I mean, you asked that question. What's your thoughts?
The same opinion you had about Zion going into college, I kind of have about him going into pros. I think his athleticism is something we haven't seen in a long time. But I also think from watching a lot of his games that his game is, I guess he's pretty reliant on his athleticism, which I don't blame him, I would be too. But from a pure shooting standpoint, like he doesn't have a pure offensive game, I guess would be the way to put it. He just tries to overpower people. And I think, one, with the way the NBA is going with smaller power forwards, he may be able to hold his own for a while. But I don't think he's going to come in and take the league by storm like a lot of people think he will.
Yeah.
Because, especially with the Pelicans, I mean, yeah, they've got a good young core, but you double Zion on the block, I mean, all you got to do is get him in a half-court game, and he's kind of taken out. A lot of his highlights are in transition. So I want him to be good, but I think his immediate impact isn't going to be seen until he's got a year or two underneath his belt in the NBA, just so he can adapt and kind of, work on a jump shot, work on, his ability to pass. I know it's kind of taking a hit for that. Although when he throws it, he can dart it in there. But I just think it's going to be a humbling experience. I hope he does well. He seems like a great guy.
He seems like a fantastic guy.
But I think it's going to take a little bit of time before he really blossoms in the NBA.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to come in and like LeBron James. LeBron in his first game, I think, almost had a triple-double. Which
He had like 23 points or something like
He
that.
carried the first couple of seasons. He carried the Cavs to the playoffs, didn't he? I mean, I don't know if he went rookie year, but he carried them.
He made the All-Star team
Very
his rookie
early.
year.
He made the finals with Mo Williams as his point guard.
Hey,
That's all you
I
need
like
to know.
Mo
And he was
Mo
young.
Williams was
Yeah.
fresh.
And he was young. He was young.
Zadrunas Ilgauskas, that's who he made the finals with.
So I agree with you. Zion seems like just a fantastic guy. I hated that he Snapchatted those girls and they all made fun of him. That was horrible. Especially from somebody
Did that happen to you,
Snapchats
Evan?
girls and
Hey,
gets made fun
shooter's
of.
got to shoot. He's got to work on his shot, though.
But I think against a big center, like if they go small ball and say he's the center, I mean obviously that's really small, but he's going to get dominated by somebody like Steven Adams or Clint Capella.
Gosh,
I mean,
talk about Clash of the Titans. Steven Adams and Zion.
That's
going
some
at each
power
other.
right there.
Gosh.
so I mean I think he's going to get dominated. I mean Steven Adams seems to show up, and obviously if he's still with the team in the future, but in the past he going against like DeAndre Ayton, like he dominated him. Steven Adams dominated DeAndre because
Barbecue
I
chicken
think,
alert.
I think he was like, oh, this guy's hype, okay, and shoves him in the ground because he's freakishly strong. So
I wish he would do that every night.
All right. So let's go to number 2 pick. We got Ja Morant with the Grizzlies.
he's up and coming. I mean, nobody really knew all that much about him until he got that triple double and.
Yeah, he was actually a teammate of Zion back in high school for AAU ball.
And RJ Barrett. I saw a picture of them two on the same AAU team.
Oh my gosh.
Stacked team.
Yeah.
But he had a triple double in the college playoff or not college playoff
tournament.
college tournament.
He'd gotten a little hype during the season just because he was carrying the team, but
I think he was averaging the most.
yeah, he led
Points
the
in
league led the entire country. I believe was it points and assists?
I think so.
It may have been, but I know for sure it was assist.
Yeah.
So there's a cool story about him where the coach saw him playing basketball. It was a camp. They went to a camp and they sent the good players to one side to like scrimmage, and then they sent the not as good players to the other side of the court. Like kind of like imagine our gym, this college gym, where one side and the scouts were on one side looking at the good players. Well, the Murray State scout or coach went to the other side and saw this kid and was like, wow, I got to talk to him. So he talks to him, and he offers him a scholarship. And he's talking to Ja and his mother, and his mother goes, is this a 4-year scholarship? I really want my son to get an education. And the coach goes, ma'am, he's not going to be here more than 2 years because he's going to the NBA. So that's kind of that cool story of how he got
That's
found.
cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was on the ESPN.
I don't know
ad.
a lot about him, but I saw whenever he got drafted, his favorite player is Russell Westbrook. So
So
I like him.
thumbs up. I love
Yeah.
the second favorite player, I guess, is John Morant now.
All right, let's move on. We got number 3, the Knicks. This wasn't a surprise either. RJ Barrett. What do you guys think of him?
So apparently he really wanted to be in New
He's
York.
good.
That's the only
I
workout he went to is New York.
Yeah.
He really wanted to be in New York, and New York was set on him. I think if New York can get another, if they can get a superstar, like if Durant goes there, I think that would really help him with his shooting and helping him cope into the NBA, because the Knicks are a horrible franchise as of right now.
I know. I was really hoping they would drop the ball and just draft someone completely random. It would have made me so happy to see all the fans boo them.
Like Kristaps.
Yeah.
So I think that's good. It's good for him and it's good for them, but hopefully they don't ruin it by being a bad franchise.
I'm a big RJ Barrett fan. I really hope he has a good career. I feel like he got overshadowed a lot by Zion at Duke.
Yeah.
But I mean, the guy averaged over 20 points a game himself. I mean, he's a stud. But I think his biggest knocks are he's kind of seen as a ball stopper sometimes. Kind of like it's kind of who I think he's going to be like is Carmelo, a guy that can go out and get buckets whenever he wants to. But if he can't develop to work in a system, then that's what he's going to be at best is a Carmelo. Which is not a bad guy to have a reputation with, but
you want a championship.
You want to win.
You want rings. So, I hope he can figure it out, but I think Carmelo is probably his absolute ceiling.
Okay, next, Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, this is actually part of the Pelicans trade with Anthony Davis. So the Hawks earlier today traded their 8th pick, their 17th pick, and I think we talked about it earlier.
In a future pick, yeah.
For this 4th overall, they drafted DeAndre Hunter out of Virginia.
And it was
I don't know.
I don't know anything about him. The report that I saw was the Hawks really wanted him, and
He's really
that's one of the reasons why they traded up for him, and they got to keep their 10th pick. But the Hawks GM, I'm not for sure his name, but he wanted Trae Young. He went out and got him, and he wanted Hunter, so he went out and got him. So I mean, if he turns out like the prospect that Trae Young has turned out to be, mainly the linkages that the GM wanted them, then he's going to be fantastic.
I mean, he's a beast. He was an anchor on that Virginia team that won the national title. He's not the flashiest of guy. He's one of those guys you go out, you watch him play, and the next thing you know, you look at the scoreboard or the box score afterwards, and he had 17, 18 points and 5 rebounds, 5 assists. And you're like, what the heck? Where did that come from? But I mean, he's definitely a guy I think that the Hawks lucked out on for sure.
I mean, the Hawks will have a good starting 5 coming up. Really young, be able to compete with that Pelicans team for young talent. That's going to be good.
Yeah, so next with the Cavs, we have Darius Garland. I'm not sure if y'all know who he is or not, but he only played 5 games at Vanderbilt, got hurt and had to sit out the rest of the year. But
sounds kind of risky.
When I was watching the draft, they were talking about the new coach from Michigan, John Boeheim. Jim, it's a J. He kind of sees them as an East Coast trailblazer, just kind of a C.J. McCollum and Dame Lillard with Colin Sexton, the point guard they drafted last year. So he's got high upside when everybody said. A lot of people thought he was the 4th best player in the draft, but we'll see how he goes.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about him. But it seems a little risky being injured, but the Cavs are known for taking risks.
And blowing picks.
Yeah. Anthony Bennett.
Yep. I mean, I don't know much about
we could
him.
probably fly through some of these.
Yeah.
Who's next? Kobe White is I believe the next pick?
No, we got Jarrett Culver to
Culver.
the Timberwolves. That's a guy. He's going to kind of fit the small forward mold. Him and Andrew Wiggins will be the wings. He played at Texas Tech, Lubbock born and raised, played a couple years there. Led them to the Final Four, so the guy can definitely ball out.
Definitely win.
You guys got anything else on him?
Nope.
No, don't. I mean, I just know that they tried to shop. They shopped the pick, and then nothing came up. They got the pick from the Suns, which was a trade
For Dario Saric.
for Dario Saric, and then another pick,
11th pick.
11th pick, and then they got in return that pick. The 7th pick?
Yeah.
7th pick. So
6th, sorry.
or 6th pick. So they got that back, and they, for whatever reason, they got that pick, and then immediately started shopping it again. So I don't know what was going on, but hopefully he can provide some kind of support to their small forward, because Andrew Wiggins is super inconsistent.
So at number 7, we got Kobe White, point guard out of North Carolina. Guy's got a full head of hair on him. Did you guys watch any North Carolina basketball games at all this year?
Oh, I saw a couple. Yeah.
He's clutch. He's
Yeah.
he's not afraid of the big moments. I like him a lot, especially with the Bulls. Pair him and Levine together. Guess we won't see
If
any
they
more
don't trade him.
campaign.
I don't even know if Campaign's on
yeah.
there anymore. I
No,
think they
he
released
is.
him. Oh, he
He-
is? I thought they released him.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So 8th pick was Jackson Hayes, the guy out of Texas who's only been playing for a few years. Just an athletic freak. That's really kind of all you need to know about him.
Pair with Zion. I mean,
Yeah, big rim protector and all that stuff.
he'll complement him well, I think.
9 of the Wizards, we have Rui Hachimura. So he is actually the first I probably butchered that, by the way. He is the first Japanese-born player to get drafted.
That's kind of cool.
So he, long athletic guy. He's kind of reminds me of Jeremy Grant, to be honest.
He's a 4.
Yeah, I think he's in 3-4 kind of range.
A tweener, maybe.
So next we got Cam Reddish to the Hawks. I love this. Great 3-and-D guy. He kind of battled with injuries all year at Duke. He missed some games. He was playing behind Zion and R.J. Barrett. I think he kind of took a backseat a little bit. But the guy was the number 3 overall prospect in the country coming out of high school. So I think potential is definitely there. If you have players like Trae Young be able to set you up, I mean, the Hawks have a great
Outside of the Pelicans, the Hawks seem to have
a
the
great
best
young core.
outlook on the future right now.
I mean, okay, so since we've gone over both their picks, they have Trae Young at the point. They have Cam Reddish at the 2.
He'd probably be 3. Kent Bazemore still on the roster for now. We'll see if he sticks or not.
But they also have what's that? They have a young guy that traded jerseys with
That
Dwayne
ginger
Wade.
kid, right?
Yeah,
Hooter, something like that.
yeah, sure.
I think it starts with H.
His last name definitely starts with an H, but they have him. Who else did they drafted?
They got John Collins at 4.
Yeah, John Collins at the 4.
Solid.
Who they drafted with the 4th pick?
Oh, they got
DeAndre.
DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think he'll start.
You don't think he'll start? Okay,
No.
at least not right now with Kent Bazemore.
Yeah, and I think they have a Plumlee. I feel like every team has a Plumlee somewhere, but they got last I knew 2 years ago they had a Plumlee starting center. They may still have him. Not
So
sure.
that's 4 young, up and coming players that, I mean, give them a couple years. Maybe they'll turn out like the Thunder in 2012.
Yeah, it'll be kind of interesting to see because they could almost kind of be like the Celtics were this last offseason where you have all these up-and-coming players and really just need one big superstar.
Yeah.
If you can land a guy in a couple years, save it next year when Anthony Davis becomes a free agent. Maybe Atlanta's a very desirable place to live.
Yeah.
A lot of stars come from there. So watch out for the Hawks to be a potential budding dynasty coming up in the next 10 years.
Okay, next pick from 10 was 11, which was
Suns got Cam Johnson. This was the guy that shot over 40% from 3 in college. A lot of people thought he was going to fall in the mid-20s range, so it's kind of surprising to see him draft that early.
They took the Thunder's pick.
Yeah. We'll just kind of bruise through these. I got Charlotte Hornets, got P.J. Washington, power forward out of Kentucky. I got another Kentucky guy from Miami Heat. It's Tyler Hero, 3-point sniper. Celtics got a shooting guard, Romeo Langford. He was seen as a potential top 5 pick at one point. He just
kind of fell off.
Yeah. Pistons. They got a foreign guy. I don't know if I can even try and pronounce it. Do you want to give it a shot, Keaton?
Don't embarrass yourself.
Sekou Domboya.
Yeah, that was my guess too. Magic got Chuma Okiki.
I'm a fan of that name. Right.
I'll be honest, I don't know anything about him.
We'll skip him.
Yeah. Okay. Well, these are all kind of irrelevant. We'll get to the Thunder. They traded down.
They traded from 21st to the 23rd with Memphis, which is what we kind of touched on a little bit earlier.
Yeah, they got Darius Baisley.
So why don't you look him up and tell us a little bit about him?
So the guy was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school.
Okay.
He ended up signing, or he committed to Ohio State, decommitted, committed to Syracuse, and I want to say he actually signed. But then he decided later on to forego that and try and enter the G League. And just kind of hone his skills that way. Then he got offered by New Balance. New Balance is making their way back in the basketball world. They offered him a $1 million internship with a long-term plan to sign a $14 million deal. So he basically is outside of Kawhi. He's they're trying to make him the face of the New Balance brand. I was reading about his weaknesses and strengths. He's 6'10", wingspan, 7 foot with, it says 8'11" standing reach. He's just a really just kind of smooth, athletic playmaker.
Long, lanky, athletic.
Wow, what a shock!
Shout out to Sam Presti.
Who would have thought?
Sam Presti likes to get the guys who are extremely athletic and have upside. So far, it hasn't.
More projects.
Yeah, it hasn't worked out too well. But I mean, T-Ferg worked out with T-Ferg, or is working with him. So maybe this guy will be the same.
This shows that this thing called NBA PA Top 100. He shot 40% from 3.
Oh, okay, okay.
You got long, lanky, and can shoot.
Yeah, it's new.
I mean, maybe the G League with those coaches really helped him out. Maybe more players will start to do that.
I think that's what they want to happen.
Gosh, it even says he's younger for his class. Says he will turn 19 weeks before the draft.
Wow.
But it also says very big time potential.
Okay.
So, I mean,
what position does he play?
He's small forward, power forward.
He sounds like a Kevin Durant. He's like 190 pounds or something and long and lanky.
Hopefully he doesn't have that kind of weak leadership, weak mind.
That's probably about all. See if there's anything else that sticks out.
So, I mean,
where's Bobo?
Did he shoot 40?
Where's Bobo?
I think he's still not been picked.
Did he shoot 40% in the G League or?
No, it was just a thing called the NBA Top 100. I think that's kind of like NBA PA is what it was called, Top 100. I think it's kind of for like recruits. They do the AAU tours. He got invited. He was a McDonald's All-American. So, I mean, a lot of who's who NBA stars now were McDonald's All-Americans back when they're coming out of high school. So, I mean, the potential definitely seems like it's there. It'll be interesting to see how he translates to the NBA after taking basically a year off and just training on his own. I'm excited to see his potential, but it just kind of sucks from a fan standpoint. It's thinking that
from a win now standpoint.
Yeah, I know a lot of people were hoping they would go get a sniper to go.
Yeah, Tyler Hero was the one that I saw on every fan Thunder Twitter was Tyler Hero.
Yeah, he got drafted early,
but he got drafted way up there.
13, he's the lottery guy.
So 10 spots before us wasn't worth even trying to trade up for him. Even if we thought we could have gotten him.
But the end of the first round, Bol Bol's still out there, and Bol Bol was projected top 10 pick by a lot of places.
Something must be wrong with him.
He must have got injured.
Well, he did get injured, but at the same time, I would there's no one that stands out that much in this draft. I would take a chance. Like, we took a chance on this guy who's raw and unproven.
Do the Thunder have a second-round pick, Matt? Do you know?
No, not this year. They shot the one pick.
No Bobo.
I mean, they could always trade.
We could always trade, but
Mobamba.
I don't know if that's really. I don't know if that's really worth it to get him.
Yeah.
I mean, I always saw him on 2K, but
I mean, he's got a sweet name, so
yeah. That sounds like a San Antonio Spurs kind of guy.
Yeah.
So now that we kind of talked about the draft, let's talk about the Thunder. So tonight I was expecting the Thunder to make a big move with their pick. Not that it was all that fantastic, but I was expecting the Bradley Beal trade, or even some type of trade like that fake one that you saw with Kevin Love.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, do you still think it has potential?
I think it has potential, but I'm starting to think now we're going to stick with the team and we're just going to try to run it back. And I think the management believes that we struggled at the end of last year because of injuries, and if we weren't injured, we had that January run. They think that's our potential, and we were the best team in the NBA at that
stretch.
So I think they're going to run it back at this point.
Yeah, I kind of feel like either Roberson or Schroeder are going to get dealt just to take a little cap hit. Probably more likely Roberson because his future is uncertain coming back from that terrible injury.
Yeah.
But I kind of agree with Keaton. I think they're just going to say, okay, the potential's there. We have another year of Ferguson progressing, which he did show progression from first year to the second year. Paul George won't have his shoulder labrum torn.
Dennis will probably progress. He's still young. I mean,
He's like, what, 25?
Yeah, he hasn't
I
even
think
entered.
Dennis. I don't want to trade Dennis that much. I
No,
think
I don't
he showed amazing flashes in some games when Russ was struggling, and then it was almost like there was more. Paul George being injured affected more than just Paul George. It's like it affected the whole team. When they started losing games, the whole team started struggling. Well, Steven Adams really struggled, which is why I think he's on the hot seat
quote
to get
unquote
traded.
trade block.
And I'm still iffy on whether I want him to be traded or not. I go back and forth each day, but I just think the whole team fell apart after Paul George got hurt.
I mean, when you lose your first option, I think that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
What kind of sucked watching Steven Adams because the first month or two of the season, the guy was killing
20
it.
points, 20 points a game,
Yeah,
10
it was
rebounds easy.
Monster.
We were like, gosh, this is the potential everyone has seen for years. And then, we played the Suns 4 times in the first month and a half, and he just tore up
murdered.
DeAndre Ayton. But then, kind of started meeting his match. Played the Rockets a few times out there dealing with Nene, and it's just
And Clint Capella,
I kind of think
it's
he was hurt.
frustrating. Yeah, no, I think so too. He's sitting out from the World
FIBA
Championships
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was something wrong. I mean,
I feel like he's constantly injured.
yeah.
He
And it's
just
hard
plays
to
through
be
it.
whenever you play that rough, and
Yeah.
the game has changed. He doesn't necessarily fit in very well in today's game, but obviously whenever he's playing to his full potential, he changes.
Offensively, I think if he plays his full potential, he's obviously
He
going to be.
changes the game, yeah.
He changes the game. The problem is he can't get switched out on guards on the 3-point line.
Not at all.
He's done better, but he's also a liability to get crossed up and will be on the highlight reel.
Yeah.
Somebody crossed him up. He kind of stepped on his own feet, but somebody crossed him up, and I almost turned the TV off. It was kind of embarrassing.
I think it'll be interesting to see if, say, Ferguson can develop into that consistent 3-point shooter because, towards the end of the season, teams are basically just collapsing in the paint and daring the Thunder to beat them from 3, and which I do the same thing. Why not?
Yeah.
They're not going to beat you, especially once Abrinas left. They had nobody. I think if, maybe a guy like Diallo can take a step, being in his second year, if Ferguson can just make that leap that he showed in January that he could do, make them more consistent, that'll just open up the lane for not even Adams to operate, just, Westbrook and Paul George to drive. I think if they get one more consistent outside shooter, at least outside of Paul George, it'd be a game changer for how the offense operates.
Yeah, especially for Russell Westbrook. He needs that lane, and it was very apparent in the Blazers series. So the very beginning of the series, I don't know if you guys remember, a lot of people were hating on Westbrook, but to me, he was playing almost to his full potential. Outside of his abysmal jump shot, which we'll get to later, I guess, he was just cutting through the paint. He was tearing up that defense and getting to the rim at will, and then they changed their defense completely. I think it was game 3 or game 4, and they started crashing the paint, and he just fell apart. And we need those 3-point shooters so Russ can get back to the rim, really.
So, in Russ's exit interview, he talked about how the media has always bashed him for being a ball hog.
Yep.
And they continue to bash him for being a ball hog. Even though this year and last year, he led the league in assists.
Yep.
And this year, I think you talked about this when we tried to record this the first time and we had corruption issues, but
Yep.
you believe that he will lead the league, maybe not lead the league, but he will take drastic steps with his jump shot, whether that's 3-point or mid-range.
So in the exit interview, he talked about how people call him a ball hog, and he came back, and led the league in assists. He spent the summer working on his passing game and how he saw the court. He talked about how people said he was terrible on defense, and he had a really good defensive year this year. And then he said, it's going to be the exact same for my jump shot, which everyone's been talking about. And we have short memories. Westbrook had a decent shot. Something happened to him. He either got hurt. I think it was the fact that he had kids. He seems like a really family-oriented guy. His shot just kind of fell apart in the last 2 years. He had one of the best pull-up mid-range jump shots in the league. And that's completely...
So, wow. So...
Isn't that what it's called, the cotton shot?
Oh, I thought you were talking about the announcer
Cotton
getting
picking.
fired.
No, I'm pretty sure they call it the cotton shot.
Oh, really? I didn't even
Yeah.
realize that.
Let me Google it. I'm pretty sure that's right.
But
I'm
yeah,
not
I
being
think
racist.
I think he's gonna not come back and be a shooter by any means, but he's gonna come back
And be
with the same-
respectable?
yeah, he's gonna have the same shot he used to have, which is a shot that you have to guard.
Well, I mean, he has a weird stat line. If you look at his numbers per year.
Yeah.
So what year did he win MVP? 2016?
Yeah.
So I think he won.
2017.
Matt, do you know?
2016,
2016, 2017?
Sorry, I was verifying my non-racist comment.
Oh, okay.
And his dad... Okay, so he said, my dad taught me that. It's called that because of the cotton net at the park I grew up at. All cotton is what my dad used to say. All net. That cotton shot is all I practiced.
See, that's why he said he's out of his cotton picking mind. Come on, guys. Like, why
Bring him back.
What's his face?
Bring Brian Davis back.
Anyways, before this gets away from me, so the year that he won MVP, he shot more threes than he'd ever shot before, and he's never been all that great of a three-point shooter. But he went out of his mind. He just usually inefficient shooters. The more they shoot, the worse they get. But the more he shot, the better he got. It was just the weird dynamic of that season of him winning MVP.
Well, he is, but definitely a head case when it comes to his shot, because you can tell just by the fact they changed the free throw rule. So he used to be an 85% or so free throw shooter, and he fell all the way down to like 71
70,
the last 2
yeah.
years. And that's because they changed the rule to where he can't walk past the 3-point line, which is part of his routine. And without his routine, it messed up his mentality.
mind
And I think that transcends to the rest of his jump shot. Is his mentality with his shot is the most important thing.
I mean, that happens with a lot of players. Andre
Yeah.
Robertson, or
Yeah.
Roberson, however you want to say it. Apparently, he hit free throws. He can hit free throws at will in practice or even pre-game. But then when it comes to the game, he goes 30% or 40% from the line. So, I mean, it's not just Russell that's horrible when it comes to basically overthinking the shot.
Yeah.
I think a lot of Westbrook's issues with shooting comes down, from the three at least, comes down to the situation. Like, if you watch the first probably 3 quarters, he usually doesn't shoot that many. He may just jack up one if he gets the opportunity to shoot an open one. But there's a lot of times he gets the ball in the wing and he'll just kind of hold it and let the play develop. But I think a lot of times those threes he shoots late come out of necessity, especially like that year he won MVP. I mean, gosh, they struggled every single game. Every single game they were,
It was almost a tie game, or
winning by 2, losing by 2, stuff along those lines. I think that's where a lot of his criticism comes from. Is he's not a very good 3-point shooter just by natural. I mean, it happens. But I think it just kind of comes from necessity of trying to get the team back in the game at that point.
So
Yeah.
I think I saw a graph of that not a super long time ago, but I think prior to the season or when those shooting woes started to come into effect, was when the game is on the line, Russell shoots a lot of threes. The closer the game is, the more threes he'll shoot. The farther ahead our lead is, he'll shoot less. And the more we're getting beat by, he'll shoot less. Mainly because if we're getting beat bad enough, he might not be playing. But if we're down by 5 or 6, Russell wants to. My dad always says this. Russell wants to be the hero. He wants the eyes to look on him and say, "Thank you, Russell, for winning that game for us." So I think when that kind of stuff happens, he wants to win, and he wants him to be the reason why.
Well, I wonder, is that a stat you saw post 2016-17
Yeah,
season.
I believe so.
I think that year he hit so many game-winning threes and go-ahead threes. It was insane, and people forget about it. And I think that mentality still exists where, hey, I can do
make
this,
that, yeah.
and win the game again. That he's struggled, obviously.
I saw a video recently. I don't know if he posted or somebody else posted it, but he was working on his free throws.
Yeah, I did see that. I was happy to see that.
With his new haircut.
Yeah, it was funny because he, yeah, it looks bad because he said he was in France or whatever, the dumb fashion show that he's always at.
It's not dumb to him.
Yeah, okay, you're right. I love you, Russ. But it was what did he say? It was like his last post. He's like, "Okay, guys, I've been working on my shot too. Like, lay off or something like that." It was funny.
I mean, I'm glad he's working on it. He needs to.
Yeah.
But so, what kind of expectations do we see for the Thunder this year? Say no trades are made. Say the team is as it is now going forward.
I say they're a top 4 team in the West. I mean, you got to think the Rockets, they're getting older. Who knows if Chris Paul's even going to stay healthy. Even James Harden's on the wrong side of 30 now. Father Time's going to start catching up. And the Rockets don't have much depth at all. It'll be interesting to see how the Lakers fill out their team. The Warriors aren't what they – obviously not going to be what they have been.
They have 2 injured players. Their top 2 players – or arguably their top 2 players are injured.
Yeah, it's just there's – the West is so wide open right now.
Yeah.
And a lot of these teams have guys that are right around 30, including the Thunder. I mean, anytime someone go down, like say the Trailblazers, they're one C.J. McCollum ankle tweak away from possibly missing the playoffs. It's going to be that close in the West this year.
Yeah.
But I think my expectation for the Thunder are then to be if they keep the roster they have now, is to be a top 4 seed in the West.
Okay, Keaton?
Exact same. Like, that's what I expected this year, and that's what they were until the injuries. And I mean, if they're playing to their full potential, I think they're second in the West, behind the Lakers. And that's a big if on the Lakers because we don't know how they're gonna look
they have
just on paper.
They have 5 signed players, so they have a lot of figuring out to do.
I think I'm hoping that we get a rematch with the Blazers in the playoffs, healthy, and I think that is going to be a dogfight and one of the best series ever. So I don't think we win a championship unless someone gets hurt on the Lakers or the Raptors or whoever's the dominant team in the league. But I do think we make the Western Conference Finals.
Okay. I think you guys are forgetting about the Nuggets.
Oh no, I haven't forgot about that.
I did forget about
I think
the
they're
Nuggets.
the next dynasty in the league.
I mean, they have Jokic.
Yeah, I
Murray,
forgot about them.
Will Barton.
Not to mention Michael Porter Jr. hasn't even played yet. That guy was projected #1 overall pick.
They still have Paul Millsap. So I think you didn't forget about him, but I figured you did.
That was for my hot take. I was saving.
Oh, okay. Shoot. Sorry. I don't think the Rockets are gonna.
No, they're done.
I think they'll make the playoffs for sure, but I don't think they're going to compete like they have this last year and the year before. So I see the Thunder. I see them at probably 3rd, 4th, or 5th slot.
Okay.
But what do they need to do to make it over the hump to convince you guys more for them to get the #1 seed or to win a championship?
Russell Westbrook's got to come back with this shot. Paul George has to play like he did during December, and Steven Adams has to not play weak like he did the entire last 3 quarters of the season. And then we need someone who can shoot a 3, and I think that's the best chance we have. I don't think we're gonna get any stars, obviously, so that's our best shot.
I think to me it all hinges on Ferguson. That stretch where they went on a ridiculous run in early January, it was because Ferguson was shooting damn near 50% from 3.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously he's not going to shoot 50%, but if you can get anywhere, even in the 38,
upper 30s,
upper 30s, that's respectable. You have to space the floor, and that just, like we alluded to earlier, it just changes the way the entire offense can flow. And I think that's the biggest key to the Thunder reaching the potential that they have.
I say, I agree with what you both said, but I think we need to sign a mid-level exception to some kind of wing player that can shoot, whether that's Wes Matthews or
I say get Joe Harris.
Joe Harris from the Nets. There's Tim Hardaway Jr. Obviously, wouldn't be the.
He's a point guard though.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say he's the best option because he shoots at a high clip. He shoots super.
Yeah.
Can we have
He's
his
a volume
dad?
shooter.
His dad was a stud.
There was another 3-and-D player that I was thinking of. Shoot. He shot like 40%. It wasn't Joe Harris. But anyways, I think they need to sign another player to mid-level exception, whether it's shooting guard or small forward, that can space the floor a little bit better and take that pressure, because I don't know if Ferguson can take that kind of pressure of being that X factor for the entire year.
I mean, he held it down for a solid month. I think it's
Comes
just a
down
lot
to
of him
experience.
maturing. He sees his potential, and now it's kind of like we were talking about in another podcast, saying once you get a little momentum behind you, you just got to keep building on that.
Yeah.
And if he can see like, hey, I can go out and score over 20 points in an NBA game on more than one occasion, unlike his rookie year where he did it just the one time against the Lakers. But I think taking that and converting it to his offseason workouts could pay dividends.
Yeah. And I think he needs to work on his ability to put the ball on the floor a little bit, because he's
awkward. He's
he
awkward.
is, it looks rough when he puts the ball on the floor. It's a tough sight. But yeah, I think he can shoot, and I hope that he puts in the work this offseason as well.
Okay. Any closing thoughts? Hot takes? So
Okay.
what was your hot take about the Nuggets?
They're included in it, but it's not about them. My hot
okay.
take is that the Warriors are going to miss the playoffs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just because if you break it out, let's say I think the Nuggets are going to be the 1 seed. I'm not going to go by seeding. I'm just going to kind of break out teams I think are going to make the playoffs. Nuggets, Lakers, Thunder, Rockets, Jazz. You got 5 right there. We haven't even talked about the Spurs at all today. You always have to worry about the Spurs.
Yeah.
So we have 6 teams right there. I haven't mentioned the Trailblazers.
Yeah.
That's 7 teams. I mean, we still have to talk about the Timberwolves. I mean, gosh, you never know how the Pelicans are going to be. I know they're going to be young, but they're going to be dangerous. We haven't even talked about
You said the Suns?
the King. Oh, did I say the Suns?
I think so.
I meant the Pelicans. The Kings. I mean, the Kings, up until the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season this last year, they were fighting for the 8th spot. Like, they almost knocked the Thunder out. And so I think De'Aaron Fox is going to take another step. Am I missing any teams in the West that are the Clippers? If Kawhi goes to the Clippers,
Oh man.
I mean, it's if Klay Thompson doesn't come back until say March from the ACL injury, I don't see Steph playing 82 games.
Nope.
I mean, I don't think his ankles can hold up. He
ankles.
hasn't played 82 games in years. I don't know if he ever has. And if he doesn't play 82 games, that team's not making the playoffs.
Nope.
You know what I haven't thought about with the Spurs? I know we're getting close to the end time, but the Spurs are going to get back DeJounte Murray,
Yeah.
and Lonnie Walker, which was their first round pick last year.
Yeah, did
They
he even
were-
play a game?
No, they both were injured for, I don't know if every game, but they were injured for a majority of the season. They lost a starting point guard and arguably maybe a starting shooting guard, or at least a decently back. I guess there's DeRozan, so a decent backup shooting guard. And
What about the Mavs?
Oh, gosh. I wouldn't even talk about the Mavs.
there's so many good teams in the West, man.
Oh, man,
we
I'm
could talk
scared
about
about the
we could
Mavs.
talk
I'm
about
scared
every
about the
team
Mavs.
probably for at least 45 minutes
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
how good they
for
are and their
sure.
potential.
Yeah.
With the Mavs, shout out to all my friends that are Mavs fans, but
Yeah. Screw you guys.
I think
you,
it
Malcolm.
all rides on KP, on Kristaps.
yeah.
If he come back to what he was, the unicorn, then they definitely make. I say definitely, they will definitely be fighting for the 8th spot for sure. But
I've got one more hot take. I think the Suns are going to land a big time point guard, whether that be Drew Holiday, because I think the Pelicans are going to want to ride with Lonzo Ball, or watch out for D'Angelo Russell. I mean, the Pelicans, they were rumored to be going after Westbrook there for a while with their 6th overall pick they had. And, I mean, it sounds like the Nets are pushing D'Angelo Russell out because they want Kyrie instead. So, if I'm the Suns, I'm going out and throwing all kinds of money at D'Angelo Russell, let him run alongside Devin Booker.
Well, this will ruin your hot take on D'Angelo Russell, but I read that they don't want him, that the Suns don't want him.
Never mind.
Really?
Yeah,
Why?
but they don't. I don't know. It just said. There were reports.
Greta is so mad right now.
There were a lot of reports that they didn't want D'Angelo Russell.
Well, the Suns are stupid.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe it's because of the Lakers fiasco with him and the ratting on teammates.
He's just an all-star, so no big deal.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Worst
If
run
they got Drew
organization.
Holiday, they would definitely. I don't think they'd be. I don't know if they'd be the 8th seed, but
No.
They'd be looked at like the Kings are, just kind of on the outside looking in, I think.
Yeah.
yeah. But I think the Mavs, Kings, and if the Suns can make that kind of trade, Pelicans. I mean, that's 4 of the teams that can-
Timberwolves.
Every team,
Timberwolves. Those
every
5
team
teams
in
can
the
fight
West
for the 8th
besides the Grizzlies is competing.
Yeah, that's so true.
spot. I mean, how many teams left out of? There's 7 teams
I can't even
that
think
are out
of
of
what
the.
other teams there are.
But I mean, they're not going to be fighting. I mean, the Grizzlies, they're going to be bad, which is good for them because they need to
That's
tank.
everyone.
Yeah. So literally every team outside of the Grizzlies has a chance to at least make a run at a playoff spot.
That's dangerous because that. I mean, that could mean. I mean, think of how close the Thunder were to missing the playoffs last year.
Yeah, that was.
All right, so Keaton, any closing thoughts? Any hot takes that you want to?
I kind of already said it. I think Russ gets his shot back this year, and I think we spend most of this year playing like January.
I think that's what it'll take.
Huh?
I think
Yeah.
that's what it's going to take to at least get to one spot
Yeah.
and definitely compete.
Yeah.
Matt, any closing thoughts besides your hot takes about the seedings?
No, I think that's all I got today.
All right, well, make sure you keep up on the draft. Second round's still going to be coming around, but thanks for tuning in. This has been Simply Technical.